Jeshua. What does 2026 hold in store for us? Mankind continues to ascend the levels of knowledge and begins to act and interact with life with a new awareness in daily life, which means man's light shines on top of the hill and is no longer hidden and invisible to the world. Beloved person, the year 2026 marks the beginning of the epoch in which the divine becomes visible in man and begins to reflect in his actions. While 2025 was the crucial year of awakening, in 2026 even greater power will be conferred upon the luminous planes, and the ground will be mined even more effectively by dark intentions. Humanity will begin to use the knowledge and skills acquired for the higher good, and you will become increasingly aware of what you are capable of and what you can achieve. You also realize that what you need now is above all a constant connection with the divine, the inner compass and trust in yourself, to reverse the course in favor of light. Your inner journey of recent years has brought you to the point where you clearly recognize the destiny of the world is in your hands, and you can nip in the bud or bring down everything that has been conceived in darkness through your awareness and your inner attitude, and not through a senseless struggle. Your NO to everything that vibrates with discord has solidified. Your will to bring about change on earth through the inner work of consciousness, rather than through external battles, has anchored itself in the soul, and your love for truth undermines all lies. The year 2026 is the year of the Divine One and the year of zero, the number of God, in which all that is contained. The one, the number one, which represents the energy field in which the all-encompassing unity of God begins to manifest on earth, imparts new impulses in the year 2026. Doors open and miracles happen as a result of an inner, rather than outer, struggle. The energy that for years has been aligning in favor of light produces visible results and brings splendor into everyday life. The number one depicts man in his dignity and in his divine form. Upright, courageous, aware of his origin and committed to what is good and true, divine and beautiful. Humanity places itself at the center, becomes the architect of its own life, and no longer settles for anything. The year 2026 releases the energy that allows those affected by it to free themselves from the residual baggage of time, to go far beyond what was previously thought and felt, and to venture beyond what was previously aspired to and achieved. What will irrevocably begin in 2026? The end of humanity's victimhood. The end of victimhood and a new lightness. JJK. Does this apply to everyone? I think there are so many people who like being victims. Jesus Christ. It concerns all people ready for change and their own transformation. It concerns all people who are about to take significant and decisive steps towards healing. It concerns all people who know the difference between living their life and being lived by it. And it concerns many. For all those who are at peace with themselves and who see a mirror in their encounters with others, things will become increasingly easier in 2026. The position in which a person has brought themselves through their development, or their lack thereof, will become visible. Who attracts suffering and who cannot hold it back? Who needs pain to feel pain and who can feel pain without suffering? For those accustomed to doing inner work, the trend is strongly upward and everything miraculously falls into place. Guided by a divine hand, the individual proceeds towards their destiny. For all those who have neglected their inner healing work, who avoid looking within and focus their attention primarily on the external, the coming year will be a year of truth. What wants to be seen will make its way into life, so that there will be no longer any way to avoid it, because destiny will no longer accept excuses. Those who are destined to ascend, but who have so far ignored all awakening signals, will receive another opportunity in 2026 to find their divine path. What for some is easy with God's guidance, for others is the most difficult period of their life, because it means letting go of what the ego clings to. However, those who, due to their spiritual development, wish to continue engaging in the game of time are excluded from these developments. They experience the ups and downs in this earthly game and, until their time comes, they remain mere spectators of the greatest upheaval in human history. The Divine Zero. The year 2026 is the year of the Divine Zero. The circle of all creative symbolizes the interconnectedness and unity of all humanity. Those who have internalized this interconnectedness and work to realize it with perseverance and complete dedication are now completing the final circle and abandoning the wheel of time. And again, it concerns people who have prepared for this journey and are ready for it, people whose spiritual awareness is consolidated and who have preserved the only true treasure in their hearts, a living connection with God. These people are shaping the new earth and ensure that everything will follow a good, bright and sublime course. Because what has been repeatedly announced to you is and remains the highest commandment. Although some events have a frightening dynamic, the upheavals on this earth will proceed in the most harmonious way possible. JJK. Does this mean there will be no world war, especially now that certain circles are decidedly in favor? The rise of enlightened rulers. Jesus Christ. There are enormous efforts by soulless forces to continue the wars already started, to start new ones and to expand them. These are efforts that are rendered vain by the reality in which this earth is immersed. What looms menacingly in a world war scenario lacks both the inner strength and the political acumen to materialize. Mere wickedness is not enough to set an entire world on fire and destroy all of humanity. What is already becoming evident, and will be visible to all in the coming years, is this: the dark rulers will fall and the rulers of light will rise. There will be surprising turns of events at all levels and, in the moment of greatest need, God's help and heaven's intervention will undeniably change the course of the world for humanity. God's light will prevail, because the time has come and this is destined for humanity. The year 2026 will remove more beams from people's eyes, so that reality can be seen and God's light can reach people's hearts. Every person who surrenders to the divine will overcome trials and let their inner light shine. Live the life you truly desire to live. J.J.K. Letting your light shine? How does it work, or what does it exactly mean? Jesus Christ. To live your true life, to listen to your mission, to clarify your relationships and to free your spiritual energy by releasing blocks, opinions, beliefs and conditioning of all kinds. Letting your light shine means being who you truly are and living the life you truly desire to live. Recognize what still holds you back, free yourself and you will be part of the greatest movement that humanity has ever generated with its own strength. The movement of awakened beings who leave the cave of ignorance and free themselves from the prison of the mind. The desire for freedom, completeness and divinity awakens, and everything that stands in its way will be swept away like a leaf in the wind. 2026 is the year in which you can prove yourself master of your life, and in which you will be seen as a wizard by those who know and as a madman by those who are blind. Firmly rooted in peace, unconditionally compassionate and constantly connected to God, you maintain an overview of current events and an in-depth view of your inner world. The divine order has been established within you. You have entered the realm of peace and have reached love for all that is. Recent crises serve you as a path to mastery, and so the circle closes. You reveal yourself and are recognized as the one among many. In the year of 10 you will achieve perfection. With infinite love, Jesus Christ. Message from the angels. Vibration of the year. My dear friends, we love you so much. In recent years, a tradition has developed of choosing a personal word of the year. People choose their word carefully and with deliberate intent, knowing they will use it as a guiding light and reminder of personal priorities in the months to come. We very much like the idea. We support any practice that helps you feel happier, clearer, or more intentional. However, we would like to slightly refine the practice and encourage you to choose not just a word, but an atmosphere of the year. If you arrived at the end of the year feeling, for example, more joyful, calmer, clearer, more enthusiastic, more trusting or more vital, we would celebrate with you. A new vibration and all the consequent life changes are within reach, regardless of where you start today. To choose your vibration of the year, simply ask yourself, Dear Divine Spirit, what is the most beneficial vibration for me to focus on during the coming year? Trust the first thing you feel. The supreme vibration is, of course, love. If you lived in the love of yourself and life most of the time, many of your problems would dissolve. However, within the vast spectrum of love, there are many vibrations, and some will feel more like love to you right here and now. Once you have identified your vibration, ask yourself, how can I experience more of this vibration today? What small changes can I make? What should I release? For example, suppose the vibration of vitality shows up as important in your life at this moment. What small change could help you experience more vitality? Perhaps you could drink a little more water. Some of you might appreciate more rest, while others would want to walk or practice gentle movements to feel more vital. You can breathe the fresh morning air or turn off electronic devices for a few minutes of silence before bed. There are so many small ways to experience the vibration of vitality, even with a struggling body, and even before healing. Suppose the vibration that emerges is joy. How can you add a little more joy to each day? Perhaps you can prepare your favorite drink and spend a few quiet minutes savoring it every morning. Maybe you can order a meal at the table if cooking doesn't excite you, or spend more time in the kitchen if it does excite you. You can let your calls go to voicemail to finish a task that is important to you, or you can call your loved ones more often. What is joy for one person will be different for another. You know yourself better than anyone else on earth. Suppose your desired vibration is peace. What small changes could bring more peace into your life? You could empty a drawer that bothers you or unsubscribe from mailing lists that no longer interest you. You could spend less time with people who love to complain and more time in nature or the garden. You can close your eyes for a moment and virtually visit a happy place. You can focus on what is good rather than on what disturbs you. Even a small shift in mindset can help you tune into greater peace. Start small. Celebrate every victory. And as you gain momentum throughout the year, despite the uncertainties that will surely arise, you will gradually practice the vibration you desire until it becomes your new normal. Happy New Year, dear friends. May you find the vibrations you wish to feel and reap the fruits of a new, practiced and positive focus. God bless you. We love you so much. The Angels' Ascension energies of January. Freedom, understanding, love, blessed beings. As you embark on a new year, your focus on cycles renews. It is an opportune signal moment to renew the creation of your path. We call this the year of understanding love because it is fundamental to your ascension, because love is the heart of life. But it is also a time when your inner resonance becomes increasingly important, as profound changes abound. When you look at the world, you discover there are many things beyond your control at the physical level. We bring your attention to your subtle bridge of creative communication. Not only create, but be. Be in this world. Bravely. Loving. The beginning your freedom in physical density must touch the subtle law. We say touch because it is not held. Freedom is fleeting in the physical, because it is not contained in the experience of density. Yet it is born from this. Freedom is inherent in the experience of separation from oneness, but it is fleeting in the experience of collective creation and linear time. This density carries you through the constant change of linear time, so nothing remains the same. Some changes happen slowly, others happen quickly when seen from the outside. It is the perspective or the awareness, to which we invite you as you embark on a new cycle and permeate your change within it. Because the freedom you seek will be fleeting, but you must touch it. What you discover is that you never needed to hold it externally. It moves with you. Freedom is a dance that sustains, reflects, inspires, and makes you free in the rhythm of life. Understanding your freedom in connection is fundamental. 2026. Understanding love freedom, first and foremost, is necessary for love in this density. Strong words, but true if understood through the lens of love. Freedom within the connection of love must be cultivated. Otherwise the creative flow is limited and divinity is obscured for all parties involved. From a perspective that does not fully understand the bond between love and life, freedom seems like abandonment. For another to be free means to abandon me. For me to be free, I cannot be indebted to another. Freedom seems to require external control. For me to be free, another must be not free. I must control another/others. This is a lack of understanding of the true nature of love, a limited view or a fear-based view. Yet it is part of understanding your density in the experience of separation. When you understand lack and accept its opposite, you heal into a greater connection with yourself and with life. When you suffer, you feel held back or abandoned, controlled or out of control. Relax your perspective of connection towards a new understanding of love, which begins within you. Where are you limiting your freedom out of fear? Where are you controlling another out of fear? Amplifying love, precious conduit. This is a time of love actively and consciously flowing in its many facets. We invite you to focus it first within yourself, so that your sacred temple is nourished by the peace and creativity of love. The actions you take as an individual can first support your physical, mental, emotional or spiritual being, and of course, benefit everyone in a comprehensive way. To be an active and effective Christ channel, your inner environment is crucial. Spend time with yourself, empowering the inner experience of love, understanding and nurturing yourself. This self-focus and focus on love creates an environment where your freedom thrives. Dance by creating circumstances of resonance, clarity and even liberation. You should understand love and its opposites and choose your inner freedom. For millennia humanity has experienced and believed only the opposite. As you unravel the reality of love in this density and create a new spiral path, you must understand and believe more and more in your creative nature. Do not control, do not abandon, but be. Be creative with your innate creative and loving energy. Inherit the earth. Let your energy flow into your world with a deep understanding, a knowing of the power of love within you. Leading with love as the spiral of time tightens. Relax and focus on your inner goal of cultivating love as often and as much as possible. It is towards love that life is always pushing you. People may not. Surrender to the flow of love, allowing it, cultivating it and nurturing it within you for yourself. It cannot be held, blessed being. Because your blessing of love flows into life automatically, like your breath. Love freely, Archangel Zadkiel. The violet flame greetings, beloved ones. We are the Archangels Amethyst and Zadkiel greeting you with love. Your planet is entering a new phase of higher energy that invites you to shift your frequency to a higher level. This change allows you to elevate further in your spiritual journey and to be of service to the highest good. We invite you to join us on this exciting journey. Today we will talk about using the violet flame as a method to keep your personal energy field and the planetary field clean. The violet flame resides on the seventh ray of violet light with us, Archangels Amethyst and Zadkiel, and the Ascended Masters Saint Germain and Lady Portia. The violet flame is very useful for both your personal and planetary energy fields. On a personal level, the violet flame can help you transmute and transform your emotional and mental patterns. When this happens, your light can shine brightly, and you are a beacon of hope and inspiration for others. On a planetary level, you can use the violet flame to transmute the smoky energy patterns that interfere with humanity's ability to see clearly. This does not interfere with personal will. It simply removes the energetic fog that clouds clear vision and clarity on issues. You are still free to make your own decisions. Planetary fog can come from below the planet's surface, from the surface, or from above the surface. You can send the violet flame beneath the Earth's surface, into caves and tunnels. You can visualize it spreading over the Earth's surface and into the ethers above to remove the energetic fog. In whatever situation you are using the violet flame, hold the vision of its transmutation and transformation until you feel the energy change. When you continue to use the violet flame on an ongoing basis, you keep your energy field clean and offer humanity the opportunity to see more clearly and decide what is best for them. Beloved ones, we are happy that you are using the violet flame to purify your personal energy field and the planetary field. Know that you are deeply loved. We are the Archangels Amethyst and Zadkiel, and we surround you with love. And so it is. Ashtar. Our new commitment, my dearest brothers and sisters, this is Ashtar speaking. I greet you with all the love in my heart. As you know, in the past many galactics have communicated through various channels that we would meet soon, that you would soon be free. But then nothing happened. Even galactics who do not give explicit dates or make explicit predictions have often implied that our meeting would happen soon. But then nothing happened, and clearly the implication of soon did not come to pass. Well, ultimately the fault is mine and my council's. After all, we have repeatedly set dates internally, and based on that, our galactic brothers and sisters have communicated soon to you, through earthly human channels. However, we then repeatedly postponed, in a sense at the last minute. Recent channelings have rightly labeled this phenomenon as indecision. Why did we do this? Well, our motivations are inadequate and we apologize. We simply should not have done it. I cannot justify it. However, what was happening was that my council was divided between their hearts on one side and our minds and the wisdom of higher consciousness beings on the other. Our hearts wanted to intervene soon, but our minds and the wisdom of higher consciousness beings wanted to wait, for reasons we will discuss later in this message. So because our hearts desired to alleviate your suffering, we set dates, but then our mind and the wisdom of higher beings convinced us to postpone. And this happened repeatedly. We did this repeatedly because the two options seemed impossible to us. Letting you suffer seemed impossible, but landing and, in all likelihood, making the situation worse also seemed an impossible choice to justify. But of course this is not a valid reason, because repeating soon and then postponing is simply the worst choice. So, we were wrong and we apologize. I cannot imagine how painful and disillusioning these years have been for you, hearing soon repeated and then nothing ever happening. I am so sorry. Locke pointed out to us that, regardless of how we feel, it is our responsibility to help you concretely, not in theory but in practice in the best way possible. And he stressed that we should simply develop a good plan, stick to it and implement it, rather than endlessly trying to develop the perfect plan, see if we can intervene a little faster, realize we can't, constantly change the plan, etc. So, in the past our intervention plans were scheduled too early because they were based too much on what our heart desired. We ignored our head and the wisdom of higher beings for too long, and then had to postpone at the last minute for that reason. The difference this time is that we have developed a plan that our hearts, our minds and higher consciousness beings can live with. So this time there will be no, well, actually, rationally we can't justify it, let's postpone. We are all tired of delays, so we commit to actually honoring this plan. So it is. This time it will really happen. Here is our commitment. We will free the Earth and land openly when the humans of Earth reach a certain level of consciousness. My suggestion towards the end of this message will be particularly helpful in achieving this, but any kind of raising of consciousness will help. It depends on you when exactly you reach this required level of consciousness, but I currently estimate it will likely happen between October 2026 and December 2026. So, to be clear, there is a low probability that the consciousness of humans on Earth will not grow as quickly as expected, and then we might only act in January or February 2027, although it is unlikely to happen much later. While predicting an individual's level of consciousness is difficult, the average consciousness of all humans on Earth can be predicted with much more accuracy than one might expect. So I do not foresee major delays beyond December 2026, if any. And of course there is also the possibility that human consciousness on Earth grows faster than expected, and then we could meet before October 2026. Furthermore, a few months or weeks before reaching this required level of consciousness, we might begin to meet privately with Earth's human lightworkers. This can serve as a solid springboard towards an open landing. We might also use your phones or televisions to broadcast a message just before or during our intervention. Of course, if you free yourselves already, or if your leaders suddenly start behaving humanely, then we are not obliged to free you and can simply land. Although, unfortunately, at the moment I foresee that this will not happen, and therefore we will have to free you, probably towards the end of 2026. We are fully aware that your leaders cannot be trusted. Frankly, even using the word leader to refer to them seems inappropriate. Okay, so the obvious question is, why don't we land today? We have thought about it very seriously, but it would not go as well as you might imagine. Imagine landing today. First, many of your countries are still governed by puppets of dark controllers. So there is a concrete possibility that if we landed today, your militaries would literally start shooting at us, or try to arrest us and take us to dark underground facilities. To ensure our safety, we would have to preemptively arrest many of your leaders or disable parts of your armed forces. And that is what we might end up doing towards the end of 2026. And by the end of 2026 we expect Earth's humans to accept us doing that, because practically everyone will know how corrupt your leaders are. Also, by the end of 2026, there will likely be fewer dark puppets in power. However, if we arrested those leaders today, we think too many people would perceive what happened as a hostile alien invasion. Believe it or not, many sleepers still think their leaders are okay. So yes, the additional 10 to 12-month delay really matters. We suspect the common people by the end of 2026 will be substantially more fed up with their leaders than they are today. Also, the energies on Earth are so high right now that everyone is being pushed rather quickly towards a higher level of consciousness. And the energies during 2026 will be even higher. Imagine landing today. Okay, everyone would be amazed and our meeting would be wonderful. And then, a few hours after landing, people, including those not working for the dark controllers, would ask us to force Russia to leave Don base in Ukraine. Even if the situation is actually more complicated than Ukraine good, Russia bad, we could not explain that to people who have been fed Russia as bad propaganda for years or even decades. They would simply denounce us as bad if we did anything other than force the Russians to leave Don base. Furthermore, even if it were morally justified to kill Russian soldiers until they leave Don base, which it is not, do we really want to set such a precedent? Because it would essentially mean that we galactics would impose military rule on Earth, which we absolutely do not want to do. Similarly, on the day of our landing, people would ask us to expel Jewish settlers from Palestinian lands. But even if we wanted to do that, we could only obtain it by force. So, we would have to use force on Earth humans who are not soldiers as well. Furthermore, people would ask us to shoot down American planes when they bomb innocent countries. Should we do that? If yes, half of Americans will think we are monsters. If not, half of the rest of the world will think we are monsters. People would demand that we force the US to drop what they claim are illegal sanctions. But of course the US does not consider such sanctions. So, we must be judges and, if we rule against someone, also use military force to enforce our decisions? So, essentially, on the day of our landing, many groups would ask us to use our armed forces to help them. And some of these groups would make unreasonable demands, or demands that directly contradict those of other groups. But if we ignore this, people might literally try to take us hostage or threaten us to make us do what they want. Even those not working for the dark controllers, but simply desperate, might try. The focus of most people would shift from, how can we solve Earth's problems, to, how can we convince these galactics, through threats, pleading, diplomacy or kidnapping, to solve our problems for us. This would not be positive for your development as a species. Furthermore, over time, you could become increasingly dependent on us. If we imposed world peace, men would tell us the divorce court is unfair to them, and then we would have to send galactic judges to judge every single divorce case. And then, if people did not comply with our decisions, we would send galactic police to enforce them. And then what should we do if Earth courts issued another ruling and Earth police tried to enforce it? Should we declare war on Earth police forces? This would be impractical. And even if we started judging every single divorce case, well, if we let the father have custody as often as the mother, then large groups of people would consider that evil, because children need their mothers. So, essentially, we would find ourselves embroiled in a semi-war between culture and gender. And we would have to essentially determine what Earth's culture and gender relations will be, which we do not want to do. So, in other words, Earth humans simply need to learn to stand a little more on their own feet before it is a good idea for you to meet us. When we land, we want to be loving but neutral towards Earth's affairs, and let humans govern it. And we expect that by the end of 2026 you will see the wisdom in that. But we think currently too many people would not and would simply ask us to side with them in some conflict with other Earth humans, and could become hostile or even violent if we refused. Suppose also that we landed and distributed medicine and technology. Then some big corporation realized they would stop making money if people could simply use this freely given, highly effective galactic technology. So they would bribe someone, and then the government would literally ban the use of our galactic technology, saying it is harmful when it is not. And then, do you expect us to arrest everyone who is not a puppet under a dark controller's command, but simply corrupt? That's a lot of people. And where exactly is the line between corrupt enough to arrest and not corrupt? So, the lack of awareness among Earth humans is one of the main factors why we will not land today. In particular, a shift is needed from the concept, others must fix everything and save us, to, I, most likely together with others, will fix things. Now, there are also many other minor factors. Another factor is that if we landed now, we might not have learned the lesson and Earth society could slip into instability. Another factor is that some Earth human souls actually want this chaos to last a little longer to grow their soul, etc. However, what I have just described is currently the most important factor. So if you want to speed up our arrival, Earth humans must shift from the concept, others must fix things, to, I, most likely in collaboration with others, will fix things. Of course, you don't have to solve everything alone. You don't necessarily have to volunteer hours every day. But you should still contribute. And yes, your inner work is also a contribution. This will not be the path for everyone, but some people should design the new society and start working to implement it. This way, when we remove the dark controllers, you can say, hey, here's our plan for a new and better society. We are working to implement it right now. Do you want to join us? And we galactics will be happy to help you, and then the focus will be on, let's build this new society together, rather than on begging these galactics to fix everything for us. So, if you are an architect of the new Earth, this is your moment. The time is now. Not later, now. Here is the signal you were waiting for. Here it is. Now is the time to gather with others, to start sharing your ideas, to start discussing them with others, etc. Ultimately the decision is yours, but I suggest designing 2 societies for each country. One is a Truth Society, TS. When designing this TS, it is assumed that, for example, by the end of 2026 the dark controllers are arrested and space opens for building a new type of society. And this TS is what can be implemented then. Even though people can actually design this TS today, start with preparatory work and think about how to later convince the wider public to join. Keep in mind that by the end of 2026 people are still people. Many are still selfish, corrupt, in survival mode, indifferent to others, delusional, etc. Do not assume the TS is composed of idealized, altruistic people. You will no longer be subtly oppressed. Your leaders will no longer be manipulated. Money will have value again and things will become very affordable again. We will probably be able to recover a huge amount of money that the dark controllers illegally stole from you, which you can then use to rebuild society and stabilize people's finances. It's up to you to decide exactly what to do with this recovered money. Perhaps a certain amount of technology will be released, but for this TS you cannot assume everyone has a Star Trek-style replicator at home. That will come later. So this TS is basically a nicer, economically stabilized and reformed version of current society, for each country, so you would have one design for an American TS, one for a French TS, etc. However, this is not yet a utopia. This society will still have money. People will still have to work, though perhaps not as much. When designing this society, be practical and truth-based, rather than utopian or love-based. Love is important, but it is the second priority after truth. And freedom could perhaps be a good third priority, although ultimately it's up to you. I'm just giving suggestions. By this I mean, for example, I would not recommend designing a TS with a policy like, all immigrants are welcome. It's very love-based, but the truth is it wouldn't work. We Pleiadians don't even have a policy like, all immigrants are welcome. Also, don't get too fixated on the ideology/programs of your favorite political party, because most Earth ideologies are substantially flawed. In Tunia's recent Survival Mode series, the author did a good job of showing that most current Earth ideologies are not based on truth. Second, you can design the New Earth Society, NES, intended to last perhaps 2 decades from now. The NES is the utopian cashless society many of you have envisioned. When designing this society, you can assume the vast majority of people are altruistic, well-intentioned, and possess deep awareness. This can be more utopian and more focused on love and high ideals. Here you can assume everyone has a Star Trek-style replicator. The Truth Society is the stepping stone to the New Earth Society. Once you have designed these societies, share and discuss them with others. It is much better if lightworkers have one solid TS design and one solid NES design for, say, China, rather than 50 lightworkers having 50 designs, all imperfect in some ways because they never discuss them with others. I suggest using this comment section as a hub for sharing and discussing TS and NES designs, now and in the future. So, if you have an idea, post it. And make a backup copy of your suggestion before posting, because sometimes the spam filter eats your message. You can also make a longer video or text describing your idea, and put a link to it in the comments section. Alternatively, dedicated designers can exchange emails, perhaps sharing a newly created secondary email address, and then form a group to start collaborating more closely on these designs. Suppose there are 2 groups that have 2 different Brazilian TS designs and the groups cannot easily agree on one design. Well, still try to find a single design. If there is another group that firmly believes another direction is better, then they probably have some good points you are overlooking and should incorporate. The central point of the Truth Society is that it puts truth first, not ideology. So, ideally you should not have a bunch of Brazilian TS designs that are basically just plans to implement different existing ideologies. On the other hand, yes, it is possible there is a group that is simply unreasonably pushing their favorite ideology or their favorite group's interests, and agreement cannot be reached. If so, then so be it, but make sure you are not unconsciously someone who is simply unreasonably pushing an ideology or the interest of a certain group. Look within before pointing fingers outward. If someone makes an argument you don't like but cannot immediately refute at a logical level, well, the Truth Society is based on truth. It is not based on feeling good. Your emotions are not always an effective guide for what works, and be careful not to confuse them with intuition. And also, do not assume all your beliefs are already based on truth, and that it's everyone else who is irrationally promoting ineffective policies for emotional reasons. Currently, many people on Earth start from a set of beliefs that seem very positive to them, and then try to shape society to fit those beliefs. However, unfortunately, some beliefs seem valid but do not work in reality, at least not for your current level of consciousness. So one must start from truth, rather than from a set of values. Another dangerous assumption is that if you treat people kindly, they will be kind in return and behave reasonably. This assumption is correct when dealing with people who have been raised in love, safety, and abundance from birth, unlike Earth humans. So, your TS should be able to handle people who do not have good intentions, who are unreasonable, who are predatory, etc. And I know some on the right will interpret these words as, the left is stupid. Well, the left believes in certain things that are not true or simply do not work in reality. However, the same applies to the right. Also, the right is sometimes overly focused on helping only certain groups, and too indifferent towards others. While truth is the first priority, love is still the second priority, at least, that is what I am suggesting. So, in the coming months you can continue to refer to this comment section and discuss your designs for the TS and the NES, or whatever you prefer to call them. And if someone has written, contact this email to apply to be part of the global design group, or contact this email to apply to be part of the design group for this country, you can write to them and start discussing. When enough of you have stopped asking, save us, and instead have a good TS design and are ready to implement it and convince the wider public to join you, that is the moment we will intervene, arrest the dark controllers and meet you face to face. Because then a core group of humans will get to work building a new society, and other Earth humans can join to support it, and we can contribute. And then Earth humans will focus on this, instead of focusing on trying to convince us galactics to solve Earth's problems. We estimate that moment will be between October 2026 and December 2026. But when that moment truly arrives, it will all depend on you. Or if no one has a good plan for a new society, we will intervene and land anyway. But then there might be a month or two delay, as described. With all my love, this was Ashtar. The Elders. What is the point? Have you ever wondered why you are where you are and what is the point of life here? Or have you ever wondered why you have to work so hard to obtain what you wish to possess? Have you ever wondered what the point is of proceeding infinitely in steps that do not seem to take you where you truly wish to arrive? Have you ever wondered what the point of existing is today? So much time has passed, and you no longer remember what was once outlined and the reason why you chose to be here. You no longer see things in the generous existence from which you came. You no longer perceive the breadth of your being in the life you live today, because much has been forgotten in time. You see, you have been here for a time and for more time, and the sense of this life and of all others before it has become blurred, obscured and lost in the passage of time. The spiritual point must be sought, desired and remembered. There has been a decrease in memory, and therefore what you desire to know is not even a distant memory. The point is no longer remembered, and therefore is no longer sought. There is no longer the recollection of what was distinctly sought and desired from a space of spiritual advancement. It is that there is a need to know more from your desire and your will for this understanding to emerge and be recognized again. The thing of your past must emerge from your desire to be more. Do you understand? Choose today that your future in this life has more to offer. Recognize that this life is not as you believe it to be. It is much more than you can suppose now. It is more, and it is through your desire to discover what is truly beneath your feet that you can obtain more. You can obtain more in a deep and unique way. Find, discover and recognize what has been buried and layered. It is there, awaiting your involvement. Discover what was so significant as to drive you to choose to experience something like this. Known as the Earth experience, it called you. It is here you are to discover more. Now is the time to be more. Do you understand? Seek more. Be more. And soon there will be more. Choose today.